After a 14-hour non-stop flight on Emirates Air from Seattle to Dubai, with a 4-day stopover there, I boarded Emirates for a 6-hour flight to Casablanca, Morocco. After a few days on my own, I joined the other 7 Intrepid Tours travelers, 6 from Australia and 2 from the UK, along with our tour director, Khalid. The Hassan II Mosque near my central hotel in the Medina is the only one open to non-Muslim visitors. After seeing this wedding party, I went to Rick's Cafe, featured in the Casablanca movie, with Humphrey Bogart and Ingrid Bergman. Upstairs, the bar included a gaming table and a continuous loop of the Casablanca movie. On another day, I had a lunch of sole and calamari with a coffee au lait at the Marché Central, followed by a walk through the market. Since it was January, it was very cold, in the 50s Fahrenheit, both inside and outside the cafes and restaurants. In the cheap hotels, they just gave me more blankets for warmth. After an hour train ride to Rabat, we began our walking tour by passing some government buildings, and then we entered the blue-lined Rabat Medina. Why the blue walls, we asked. Answers include to keep the mosquitoes away. It was started by Jewish settlers to evoke the heavens. There was lots of leftover paint from painting the fishing boats to it attracts the tourists. These guards are the only military you are allowed to take pictures of in Morocco. Mohammed V negotiated independence with France and Spain and became king in 1957. He and his 2 sons are buried here. This was a comfortable 3-hour train ride to Meknes. We spent the night in some very chilly rooms. The showers were hot, though. We explored the grounds created in the 17th century by Sultan Moulay Ismail. I stopped for a cup of delicious fresh squeezed orange juice for just 50 cents. These vendors are as common as our Starbucks back home and more nutritious. We took a long walk around the royal palace, expecting to see some of the opulent palace, but we only saw the walls.
Yeah, architecture, yeah, the architecture, mixed influence architecture.
I entered the immense Henry S. Sewanee Granary, a mammoth architectural feat that stored food for the 12,000 horses that were boarded here. The place is huge with spectacular views down the hallways that stored the grain and housed the horses. We passed through this gate on our way to lunch. The Bab el Mansour is regularly named as one of the world's most impressive doors in Morocco. We entered the Medina and wended our way to our Camel Burger Cafe, a real hole-in-the-wall place. Tasted like regular burger laced with the ever-present cumin spice. We then left the Medina and joined up with Samir, the driver of our van, for the rest of our Morocco adventures.
That has totally nothing to do with Islam. Like I've been saying in the medicine algorithms and shrines and other things, which is totally against Islam.
Volubilis was once the southernmost Roman outpost, established in the 1st century until it fell in 285 to local tribes. This area produced much desired olive oil for the Roman Empire. Although severely damaged by an 18th century earthquake, many of the columns were still standing and some have been restored.
The mosaic floors were just uncovered, for example, and the part you see this road is single concrete.
What is most remarkable about this site are all of the well-preserved mosaics featuring various Roman gods and characters. It was named a World Heritage Site in 1997. You can even see the remains of the Roman baths.
You can get pictures of the arch if you wish first, and then you continue behind to see more of them.
A 2-hour drive took us by this reservoir and on to Fez, where we would tour for 2 days. We would soon learn what this type of pottery is used for: delicious tangine. On a rainy morning, we stopped by the big brass doors of the Machower Fez Jadid and then walked along the Jewish shops and settlements. Today, there remains large Jewish settlements throughout Morocco because Mohammed V refused to hand over Jews to the Vichy government during the Holocaust in World War II. We then went to this viewpoint before going to a pottery shop and the Fez Medina.
This is the Medina, 9th century ports. The new Fez, Sarahmoor. It's a 14th century port, guys, there, and the modern.
He dry one day. After one day dry, he keep it and he find them. After 3-4 days in the sun, he bake it twice. The first time he bake it no glaze, and the second time he bake it with glazes. Closer to see how he cut, how he double. Okay, go closer.
We entered the Fez Medina, which is the largest car-free zone in the world. We had a local guide help us navigate through the confusing and sometimes narrow passageways.
It was very expensive. Because when we are talking about Turkey and Morocco, all time to take about like the taxes.
This area, they are dyeing clothes using various hot vats of dye. Andrea is checking out the possibility of having some camel head stew. Jessica, Max, and Kian are tasting crepes instead.
Oxford, Sorbonne, and Bologna as well.
Only Muslims may enter this mosque located within the Medina.
In a special book, you check and you will find.
We are now headed to the leather area with a huge open-air tannery with its many vats of dye. The smell of rotting flesh is overwhelming, so they hand out sprigs of mint for you to smell as you tour. Since it was winter, the smell was not overpowering, but summertime, whew! It was a rainy day, so most of the vendors received their products by wheelbarrow rather than these mules.
The brain of a young child that's sponge can take everything in, so they start when they are 5, 6, and they keep repeating the same word, and when they...
We toured this former mosque that is now a museum with its 2 stories with numerous classrooms, along with a big courtyard.
Scale of trade.
Kian is trying on scarves. I ended up buying one made of agave fiber that is as soft as silk.
Of Morocco, where our agriculture took place. We're a very diverse terrain country. We have a lot of mountains, plains, and hills, which reflect on the agriculture, producing a variety of products.
Ifran is located at 5,460 feet in the Middle Atlas region. This small town has a Swiss alpine feel to it. The structures here more resemble a Swiss village than a Moroccan one. Here we stop for some tourist-fed Barbary monkeys that are also found on Gibraltar.
Come and take a video.
We continued up the road to Midelt and came across this snowfall as we approached the summit over the Middle Atlas mountain range. Of course, we had to stop for a brief snowball fight. Once in Midelt, we took a hike through the apple orchards and village to the beautiful and rugged Morocco Gorge.
Assalamu alaikum.
Yeah, it's popular.
Avoid women pictures.
Ça va? Bonjour, ça va?
Taking women's pictures. Before you find out it's dangerous for the health. So the mining took a place since then, and it was very prosperous place. This is the second place in Morocco to have electricity after Casablanca. Thanks to all the minerals and natural resources in this place. So there was a train connecting the center of Midelt straight northeast to the border with Algeria, then the Mediterranean, where the natural resources.
William's getting lost.
Okay.
After a traditional Tangier dinner of meat and vegetables in the conical casseroles, we had requested a local folklore dance performance. Before the performance, our host had each of us put on a traditional garb so we could better enjoy the performance. To our surprise, after the two musicians and two dancers began performing, we became the performance. Our drive to the Sahara Desert took us through increasingly arid areas, except for the villages along the river valleys.
Bigger. It's the size of US, and it's even.
This is our first spotting of the orange sands of the Sahara. a spot of mint tea and pastries before our camel ride into the Sahara.
They will be coming to our team. Give your overnight bag if you don't want to carry it. You will pass it to them. They will tie the straps around here. So you have access to your bag. But for safety, you better keep your both hands on the...
Huh?
Are you sure that's a boy?
Oh, it's like a little. That's his name. No, that is his name.
Our Sahara camp had all of the amenities, including a throne, running water, comfortable beds, and a dining hall. We climbed up to the highest sand dune to watch the sunset over the Sahara.
Do you want to put my shoes on, Jess? Ah, this is such a wet. This is so fun.
Some of us did some sandboarding to the amusement of others.
That'll be nice. Oh,
And back up. Nice. That was awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, you'll kick off in a second as you get onto the floor.
Woohoo! Woo!
Bring her up, I'll have a go.
Liam took some beautiful shots of others watching the sunset.
Kind of need lyrics photographer, don't you? No, it's got
No, it's cool.
It is. Max and I have been like playing it a lot actually.
After dinner, Max entertains us and later joins the other camp staff around the fire pit.
We'll go after you, Jesse. We will see after you.
Hi, Rick.
Someone down there digging, and a bucket made of leather or palm tree leaves at that time before plastic, and then the ropes, camel or goat wool, and then a camel in the front to use its energy or its power to bring the soil out. So they hit the camel to move forward, and then the soil will come out. That's why we end up with these domes around the world.
El Khorbat was built of rammed earth in 1860 as a fortified village called a kasar. The homes are built over the alleys to keep the alleyways cool in the summertime. The museum had room setups like this kitchen. After lunch, we made our way to the Todra Gorge and walked across this bridge to the Auberge Taborit, where our host served us some aerated mint tea while waiting for our rooms. I dined on some lamb kebab, heavily spiced with cumin, more popular than pepper. Our 12-kilometer trek began by going through this narrow canyon gorge before climbing up a switchback trail until we came to the top, where we came across a family of sheep herders who used both felt tents and caves for shelter. The strong winds, shade, and winter weather kept us from overheating as we made our way up the mountainside. After we arrived at this sheepherders camp, we were invited to join them inside one of the caves for some mint tea. It was just a bit more climbing until we reached the saddle and could see the Rose Valley spread out below. then made our way back down to the village in the Todra Gorge. Except for the agriculture and villages along the Todra River Valley, the area was quite barren. Along the way, we passed by the Noor solar stations. This is the largest solar complex in the world. The overhead picture of Noor 1 shows the parabolic mirrors, and the Noor 3 uses a solar tower. Both have the ability to store energy in molten salts. We stopped for lunch in the Ouarzazate Plaza before going to the Atlas movie studio. The kefta, or meatball tangine, and avocado smoothie were my favorites. The Atlas studio started in 1983, and measured by acreage, it's the world's largest film studio. Our Intrepid crew found this movie set with phones to our liking. From left to right, Rick, Kian, Jessica, Liam, Andrea, Keely, Leanne, and Max. Some of the films done here include Ben-Hur, Gladiator, Black Hawk Down, Mummy, Jewel of the Nile, Game of Thrones, Kundun, and The Way Back.
In this temple, so every movie change the colors, change the decoration, so it was sacred. This is for many movies.
Maybe in other places, yeah, in Morocco, like in Armoud, in Merzouga, so also this is
This is the slave market, and the movie Maria Magdalena. Mary Magdalena also is made here in this place, and also it's used for the movie Queen of the Desert, Solomon and Sheba.
Nicole Kidman.
Yeah. You have 15 horses.
All right. Hey.
How are you?
Good.
Even this town is used as a movie set, most notably the Colosseum scene in the Gladiator movie. Here they are building another movie set, but no one says what the movie will be. We are now heading up to the building atop the Kasbah and past several vendors on our way. You can hear the afternoon call to prayer as we make our way through the Kasbah. This is the site of where they built the Gladiator Colosseum set with the Kasbah as backdrop. There's nothing left of the set though.
Massive video. Some of it was hilarious, and other bits were like the teachers were like shocked.
We are now heading up the High Atlas Mountains and over the Tizi and Tichka Pass at over 7,400 feet. We stop at the vendors who are selling geodes, hollowed, crystalline rocks of all colors, some natural and some colored with dye.
Bless you. Oh, battery's getting low.
We pass by lots of heavy construction on this very high mountain pass. Our Riyad Dar Tajin guest house is a pleasant 3-kilometer trail walk through fruit and nut orchards with spectacular views of other villages and the high Atlas Mountains. We enjoy another Moroccan-style mint tea pour as we settle into our new guest house. We loaded up with extra blankets as the fires died down and the temperature dropped. We got an early morning start for our 5-kilometer hike up to the Sidi Chamharouch shrine, just below the snow-capped mountains.
Besides what Hassan said, as you can see, they are painting the big white rock, and then recently they built the mosque. It's all to give it a religious aspect.
This shrine is at 7,700 feet, or 2,350 meters. At that elevation, it's no wonder we found ice in the streams. Hussan was our local guide for this trek.
What's that? Oh, yeah, sure. I'll just get the Camel donkey.
It's a good photo cap there. We got Liam. Always on the uphill side.
These folks are taking the easy way up. We descended about 1,800 feet back to our guest house and on to Imlay for our van ride to the Atlantic coastal city of Essaouira. In addition to lunch, we stopped at this argon oil factory on our 5-hour drive to Essaouira. It was a cooperative where the Berber women would split out the nut from the argon tree, and other women would use a stone grinder to render the nut into an oily mass that looked like peanut butter. They would then squeeze out the oil. This oil is now very expensive and is used for flavoring cooking, but primarily for cosmetic use in soaps, creams, and other elixirs. As our van stopped outside the walls of the Essaouira Medina and transferred our luggage to a cart, we said our goodbyes to Samir and his van. We stayed at the Essaouira Hotel inside the Medina, which was near all types of foods, goods, and entertainment. It seems like all of Morocco is a movie set. Game of Thrones, anyone? We enjoyed drinks and dinner as the sun set over the ramparts after a long day of hiking and traveling. Liam, Khalid, and Max help out the fishermen.
He slipped on the fish guts.
Sometimes they use even the small boats to catch sardines. If the sardines are in the shallow water, so they don't need the big boat, they just need the... The Romans came. But why they were interested, the Romans, to this area, this is where they get the shells, from which they get the purple dye.
This is much fun.
After a 3-hour comfortable bus ride, followed by a short taxi ride to our hotel, we took the local bus to the Marrakech night market. Khalid took us to one of the night market food stalls where he ordered us a variety of Moroccan dishes that were delicious. We had relish plates of tomatoes, carrots, potatoes, fried eggplant, and green peppers, followed by meat and vegetable skewers and bread along with mint tea. Throughout the night market, there were groups of people entertaining each other or just dining. The following day I returned and the place was almost empty, and the food stalls like the ones we ate at. I wanted to film a snake charmer, and we settled on 50 dirhams, about $5, for me to film him charming cobras. He surprised me by putting snakes around my neck. He posed me with the cobras then. I handed him the 50 dirhams, but he said it was 50 euros. I said no, and after a bit of back and forth, I just dropped the 50 at his feet and walked away. At least I didn't get bit. The red brick area is where the night food stalls were. Here's the public bus that takes us to the market from our hotel. After our farewell dinner and a few days in Essaouira again, I made my way back to Casablanca and then took the high-speed train to Tangiers. 158 kilometers per hour right now. From the train station, I made my way to the Medina, where the Hotel Continental fronts the edge of the Medina. I first stayed at the legendary Hotel El Muniria. William Burroughs, part of the Beat generation, lived here while he wrote The Naked Lunch. Burroughs, Jack Kerouac, and Allen Ginsberg spent hours in the Le Tangerine bar just below the hotel. These pictures are on the walls of the hotel. Moved inside the Medina to the Melting Pot Hostel before taking the fast ferry to Spain, since it only cost $10, which included breakfast. Here's the rooftop view along with some pot in a planter. It was convenient for touring the Medina and also to find out how to take the ferry to Spain, since the Lonely Planet guide was confusing. Sometimes I got lost in the Medina returning to the hostel, but the app called Map.me showed me where to go.
Big swordfish.
I enjoyed walking through the market areas, including the fish market and the fruits and vegetable areas, where I saw them selling many varieties of olives. You can hear the call to prayer while I was having dinner. I'm about to leave Morocco and take the fast ferry to Spain. It's about a 40-minute crossing, shorter than the time it takes to clear immigration and customs at both ends.